Shem Yahushai. Shem. All right, Shalom, Shalom. All right, Shalom, Shalom. It's Brother Atazadak here with well. Shem Yahushai. Shem. All right, Shalom, Shalom. It's Brother Atazadak here with Israel. Before I get started, giving all honor and glory to Yahweh, Shem Yahushai, Shem Makakwadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles, the great millstone. It's Brother Atazadak here with Israel. Before I get started, giving all honor and glory to Yahweh, Shem Yahushai, Shem Makakwadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles, the great millstone. Today we're going to go into Joel, chapter 1. Going into the Hebrew. So Lord, Bashem Yahushai, Bashem Makakwadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles, the great millstone. This is Joel chapter 1. Now let's go into the prologue, see what we can get at. And get some insight. So Joel chapter 1, prologue. See what we get out of that. Let's type in Bible Hub. So it says Joel chapter 1 says the day of desolation, a dire prophecy in Joel chapter 1. So let's see. Got right here. It says Joel, while depicting a scene of devastation, serves as a reminder of transformative power of sincere repentance. Reaffirms a faith that, in the face of impending doom, our cries can reach God, the only source of restoration and salvation. This chapter compels us to introspect, to understand the consequences of straying away, encourage us to seek God's mercy and grace. So verses 1 to 4 speaks about a calamitous invasion. Basically famine, right? Verse 5 to 7, they call to mourn, in the Holy Land, right? Then they went into captivity, starting with uh, Slovakia. It's having some connection issues. Um, let's see where we left off. So we went to the prologue, which was really just speaking on not necessarily future prophecy, right? These things that had already come to pass. The prophet Joel was from Judea, and he was possibly uh, there during the Second Temple period, and he prophesied in the Southern Kingdom, right? So this message in this chapter is mainly directed at the Southern Kingdom, at Judah, right? Um, which rebelled, and the Most High God put them into captivity, right? After they were given the promised land, right? So Ya Allah means Yah is God, right? Which is the shortened form of the Tetragrammaton, right? So I'm not sure if you got this. So I was just revisiting this part. So verse 1 reads, the word of the Lord which came to pass unto Joel, son of Pethuel, which will read, Dabar Yahweh Ashar Hayah al Ya'ala Ban Pata'ala. Verse 2 says, hear this, elders, and give ear, all inhabitants of the land. Has it been like this in your day, in the days of your, if though, and if so, shall it be or Salakia, and if so, has it been in like in the days of your fathers? To read Shemai Wa Za'ath Hazaquanyum Waha Azianwa call Yeshavia Arataza Ha Hayata Za'ath Bayam Yakum Wa'im Bayam Ya Apatha Yakum. Verse 3 reads, Salakia, make sure it's still on. Verse 3 reads, bring it up unto your children, recount unto them, and upon um, and upon their children unto their sons. Salaki, and to your children and to their children, their children and the generation that followeth or afterwards. To read Aliyah Laban Yakum Saparwa Laban Yakum Laban Yahum Laban Yahum La Dawar Har says that which is left by the cutter will consume the locust. That which is left by the locust will consume the cankerworm. Which is left um, by the cankerworm will consume the devourer. Right. So it reads Yathar Ha Gazam Call Ha Araba Yathar Wa Yathar Ha-araba, Akal, Hayalak, Wayathar, Hayalak. Oh, now here it says palmer worm, which is gazum, which is a type of locust, right? Let's look at the palmer worm. This is what you call a palmer worm, right? Got these type of worms that chew through leaves, right? Then you got the cankerworm, right? Which are the particular type of species, right? Of I guess it says moth. Got the palmer worm, which is a type of caterpillar, right? And the cankerworm. Let's just type it in here in Wikipedia. It says cankerworm. They refer to the following inchworms. Um, so it's a type of caterpillar of the moth family, right? So you have here what's called the first the palmer worm is mentioned, right? So let's get more info on the palmer worm, right? Let's exit out of this. This is mentioned, right? So let's get more info on the palmer worm, right? Let's exit out of this. So it's the larvae of a moth, right? So it's the larvae of a moth. The cankerworm is they're a species of caterpillars, right? So that word is gazum, right? Palmer worm, Strong's H 1501. Then you have the cankerworm, which is yalak, which means to lick, right? Because that's what the cankerworm is known for, right? Chewing through greenery, right? We're right here. Some technical difficulties. Locust caterpillar. That which eats away or devours. Most of the time we see it's translated as caterpillar. General word for caterpillar. Kasal, meaning devour, to devour. Strong's H 2628, to consume, finish off, to bring to an end. Salakia. To eat off, to devour. So you could say that last word is caterpillar, or you could just say devour, because it's already mentioned other types of caterpillar, right? Now it's just, in the end, it's just in a general sense, any other beast that would come, right, in swaths, right, right, when there is pestilence or whatever the case may be, when the Lord sends a famine, right, he uses what? The teeth of wild beasts, right, to consume, to devour, right? In this case, he's mentioning, right, the palmer worm, the canker worm, the locust, the caterpillar, right? the lesson. Um, but let's get back to it. Right. So you have this is Joel chapter 1 verse 5. Wake up, drunkards, and weep, and howl, all that drink, all the drinkers of wine. Um, beside the says the new wine that is because it is cut off from your mouth. This is what you have the accounts of doing, right? Giving the Nazarites wine to drink. The Lord said that right, they're not afflicted, concerned by the affliction, so on and so forth, right? Uh, that's the affliction of Joseph. Let's see what else we can get. Um, let's look it up in the blue letter, right? Which the blue letter can tell you a little bit more, right? All we got to do is search up drunkard, see what we can get. And that word asias really it means sweet wine, right? It's another way to say new wine or new juice, right? From the vat, from the wine press, sweet wine, right? Which means it's fresh, right? Pressed out juice, sweet wine. So it could mean sweet wine, new wine, but it really means juice, the juice of wine, the juice of grapes, right? To read Ha Kwayatazawa, Shakarian, Wa Bakwa, Wakayalalwa, Kal Shatya, Yayan, Al Asias, Kaya Nakarath, Mapayakam, right? So let's just type in drunkards. Me personally, I don't drink wine because 90% or 99% of 99% of it is has a form of pork in it, like used to ferment it. That has been fermented with because they have to use I believe a sort of pork fat, just like gelatin. Gelatin is a form of pork fat, right? Refried beans, right, have a form of pork fat. Sometimes it's lard, called lard. Sometimes it comes from beef. Sometimes it comes from pork, which is unlawful. It's not made. It's fermented with that, right? They don't. They don't. You know. You know Amalek is.
It's Amalek.
So actually, let's look that up real quick. Can kosher wine contain pork? Is pork used to ferment wine? So it says in conclusion, wine does not inherently contain pork as it is primarily made from grapes, while some binding agents used during winemaking may come from animal sources, including gelatin. Right, so unless it explicitly states gelatin from beef, which is from beef fat, then it's actually kosher. But a lot of these wines, right, because it says here, because it's a primary ingredient. Wine is a primary ingredient, so it's kosher, even though they use gelatin in the process ferment, right? And they don't have to state that as far can kosher wine contain gelatin. Wines that gelatin. Right, so you're kind of kosher gelatin. You know, they're kind of dancing around the issue, right? Because you have right porcine gelatin, right, which they use from the hide skin of young pigs. Kosher fish gelatin, kosher meat gelatin. You know, so that's just one of the little known facts, right? And but that's pretty much for that. Let's look at the what it says for drunkards here in the blue letter. Psalm 69 and 12. They that sit in the gate speak against me. I was a song of drunkards. Right. We got Isaiah 28:1. Woe to the pride, or to the pride, to the crown of pride, to the drunkards of Ephraim. Glorious beauty is a fading flower, which are on the head of the fat valleys of them that are overcome with wine. Isaiah, Joel. Let's go into another one. Nahum 1 and 10. For while they be folded together as thorns, while they are drunken as drunkards, they shall be devoured as stubble fully dry. Joel chapter 1 verse 6. Is because a nation has ascended up upon my land, mighty and not to be counted, not not to be numbered. Of not there is no numbering of their teeth, which is like the teeth of a lion, and the large the big it's actually they're not to be numbered. Their teeth are the teeth of lions, which is their weapons, right? I can read about the book of Daniel, right? The fourth beast, which is Rome, which is America, Babylon the Great, had great teeth, right? Which are the iron weapons that the Romans used to subdue the um, their adversaries, right? It just basically means the big teeth, which are the fangs and the molars of an old lion, which is unto him, which reads Kaya Kawaya Allah Al Ratazaya Tazawam Wa Ayan Masapar Shanyawa Shanya Arya Wama Dalayat La Baya'a Lawa, right? Because you had when the Babylonians invaded, right? They were beyond count, beyond, right? Particular scriptures that says that, right? They were not numbered for a multitude, right? Like the Midianites, like the Syrians, right? And so why it says their teeth was like teeth of lions, of a lion, right? Meaning they were sharp, right? Just talking about their weapons, right? Their large teeth, meaning their larger arsenals, right? Like an old lion's teeth, right? Being skilled and right, able to do damage, right? Says verse 7. Um, but that's just talking about in general the adversaries of Judah, right? Because you always had the nations come up against the southern and northern kingdom, right? But like I said, that first hit that the Lord put against Jacob was starting with the Babylonians, right? Then the heathens started coming in various waves, and right, taking particular men, princes, notable men captive, so on and so forth, right? Let's go into the commentary, Joel chapter 2, verse 6. Terry, they're 1 and 6, Salakia, bugging. Terry, they're 1 and 6, Salakia, bugging. All right, so it says here to apply also to the destruction of the country by foreign army. Seems to refer to the devastation of the Chaldeans, right? So, like I said, that's starting with the Babylonians, right? Persians, Medes, Lord sending pestilence, right? Uh, the locust, the palmer worm, the canker worm, the caterpillar to devastate for Jake's sins, right? Let's close some of these windows. So this chapter isn't really all that, you know, all that deep. You know, it's not always super. It's not always that deep, right? Mainly, we're going to go into particular words in this chapter, right? Make sure the live is still up. All right, Con. So you got Joel chapter 1 and 7 says, there my vines are onto desolation, and the fig trees are uh, splintered, right? Laid bare, laid bare they are, and thrown onto the white, to the bark, to their bark, as in they're split, violently peeled. The word for peel is actually, I believe, is batazal, but they're laid bare onto the bark, the throne, right? Their branches, which is sharyagya, right? This is the violence that the Lord, not talking about actual vines. It's talking about well, it is talking about actual vines, but it's talking about the the nobles, the princes of Judah, the other southern kingdom. Ultimately, right? You start off with the nobles. What the Babylonians did, they captured the nobles, the princes, and they left the poor in the land, right, to till the earth, right. So this is kind of twofold, right? You can read about that in Kings and Chronicles. This is why also that Esau did Jake the worst, mainly the southern kingdom, right? Uh, the West Indians, the Asians, the Dominicans, and Jake here in the Americas, right? He put yokes of iron upon him, even to this very day, right? He's the most oppressed because Esau knows the order of the tribes, right? The heads. Then you got the right, which is the southern kingdom. Then you got the northern kingdom, right? There's a particular order that Yahweh Bashim Yahushua gave, right? So it says Sham, Gapanya, Lashama, Wata Anathia, La Quatazapa, Hashap, Hashapa, Ha Shalyak, Ha Labianwa, Sharyagya. Look at that word, Quatazap, which is Strong's H7111, Quatazapa, which means to fragment, splinter, to snap. Word Quatazap also means which is basically the same thing, Quatazap, which means indignation, right? To be wroth, right? Cognate of that would be Zayam. Zayam is more so defining, right? But you get the point. This also means to splinter, right? To to split in a sense. You have Quatazab, which means to hew down, right? Joel 1 and 8 says, Salakia. So we're back. So Joel chapter 1 and verse 8, right? Let's go back to that page. Salakia, just bear with me. I know the format of this lesson has been a little off, but I've been having some technical issues. But Lord willing, you're edified. So let's go to verse 8. Salakia, verse 7, right? Well, I explained that verse 8 says, lament like a virgin girded with sackcloth beside uh, the husband of her youth, right? The word Baal means Lord, right? Possessor, right? Uh, which reads Aliyah Ka Batawalu Hagarath Shak al Baal Nayarya, which that word for lament. Let's take a look at it. Is Aleh, which means to chant, right? It says here through the idea of invocation, not to be confused with alha, which means an oath, right? And it also alha also means these or those, right? But in this case, it's translated as to lament, right? Or in the sacrificial law, you have aliyah, which means the hind of a sacrificial animal. So it says to be round, to be thick, fat. Just talking about the nation of Israel, right? The Lord is saying, right? Like we have visited, uh, like we're gonna go over these previous verses, right? Lord is speaking on how these judgments will start, right? And how He's gonna cast off, right? Like I said, mainly this is speaking on the southern kingdom. Prophet Joel was speaking on to Judah, the inhabitants of Judah, which includes Simeon, Levi, right? Benjamin, right? Basically saying that these things that'll bring upon you, you're gonna recount them and they're gonna be recorded, and right, which you can read in particular chapters, right, of the gravity of the destruction that the Lord brought, right, and putting Jake into captivity, starting with the Babylonians, right, Persians, Medes, the Greeks, the Romans, right, throughout time, right, even to this very day, right, particular things were prophesied to come to pass, right, and they did, right. Pestilence, right, the Lord admonishing, right, uh, like it says here, drunkards, swillers of wine, right, nations invading the land, the time of the Gentiles, right, like scriptures say, right, it is the time of the heathen, right. Um, so this is what the Lord is saying, right? Lament. right? Because, like it says in verse 8, right, the virgin that is wearing sackcloth, right, beside the husband of her youth, because the Lord is shaming, right, nation of Israel, right, with these judgments, right, uh, even to this very day, right, the Lord, the husband of her youth, or the right, the Lord of her youth is what? The things that the Lord gave the nation of Israel, the law, statutes, and commandments, right, the precepts, right, righteousness, right. Uh, you read about them in the book of Malachi, right? The spirit that it still remains within the remnant, right, to administer justice, right, via the prophetic word, right, via things that will come to pass, right. So now, and you can precept this with Revelation chapter 11, right, that the servants of Yahweh Shem Shai would prophesy in sackcloth, right. So that's what it's touching on. Particular, like I said, this chapter is not necessarily speaking on the prophetic word, right? But speaking on particular admonitions that Joel spoke against the southern kingdom, right? This isn't necessarily speaking on future prophecy, right? But you can compare it to the devastations that the Lord brought upon Israel throughout time, right? Verse 9 says, it has cut off the offering and the libation from the house of the Lord, which says, mourn, ye priests, ministers of the Lord, which reads, Hakarath, Manacha, Wanasak, Mabayath, Yahweh, Abalwa, Hakahanyam, Masharathia, Yahweh. Verse 10 reads, um, it is ravaged the field, it is ravaged the field, mourneth, or Salakim, is ravaged the field, mourneth the ground, because it is despoiled the grain. It is despoiled, the grain is dried up, or the grain is despoiled, the new wine is dried up, and the oil is cut off. Right? It reads Shaddad, Shaddad, Abalah, Adamah, Kaya, Shaddad, Dagan, Habayash, Dayarash, Amalal, Yatazahar. Right? Because that word Shaddad, right? Like recently, Elder Pastor Tahar went over, right? There's different Shad means breast, but Shaddad is speaking on violence, despoiling, to overpower, right? Which is one of the titles of the Lord, right? Sometimes it means demon, right? Demon like power, Allah Shadia, right? Um, so Shaddad's field, the Gan, that's just speaking on grain in general, right? Let's look at that word real quick, just to be sure. So it says corn, but this just is it's talking about grain in general. not to be confused with Goran, which is a threshing floor, right? Where grain is threshed. So it says here grain, corn, wheat. Strong's H 1715. Then you have Yabash, which means dried up. The new wine, which is Thayarash, right? Like I mentioned before, Yarash means uh, like it says here, to possess, to dispossess. Right? It's speaking on new wine, which is strong, which has a right when drunk, like it says here, so called because in intoxicating it takes possession of the brain, right? And it's used in a variety of applications, right? So you have that word amalol, which it says here the root is amal, but all right, let's look a little further. So it says languish, right? That word for languish, let's take a look at it. Yeah. It's actually Deuteronomy 28. Let's get that real quick. That's why it's good to keep going over these particular words, right? Let's see. Slovakia. Just type in language. That word is Dwaya, right? That's the spirit because I was just on that. I just had it pulled up. Deuteronomy 28 and 60, which here it says, Ma Dawa, says, and he'll return upon thee unto all the languishing of Egypt, which thou wast afraid of from before them, and will cleave upon thee. Right? So that word is not actually language, it just means cut off or made feeble, right? Because that word malal, the root word is means to cut off, right? Meaning a, malal, a cutting off, right? Not to be confused with malah, which means to talk, right? So these are the plagues that the Lord is speaking on, right? That he plays upon Jake, right? In particular times, right? So verse 11 reads, they are ashamed the husbandmen. They are ashamed the husbandmen. They howl the vine dressers upon the wheat and upon the barley, because it's perished that which is cut off in the field, right? During particular sieges, right, that happen in various accounts, right? They would right destroy the the reserves of their of waters and particular crops, right? During particular sieges, they would salt the land so that no herbs would grow afterwards, right? This reads Habayashwa Aquarium Hayal Yalwa Karamium Al Hata Wa Al Shayara Kaya Abad Quatazior Shada. Verse 12 reads, the vine is dried up, and the fig tree is cut off, the pomegranate, even the palm tree, and the apple, all the trees of the field are dried up, because is dried up the rejoicing from the sons of man. Which reads, Ha Gapan, Ha Bayasha, Waha Ta'ana, A Malal, A Mala, Ramwan, Gam Tamar, Watapach, Kal, Itazaya, Ha Shada, Yabashwa, Kaya, Ha Bayash, Shashwan, Man Banya Adam. Verse 12 reads 13 says, "Gird yourselves and gird yourselves and mourn, O priest, how ministers of the altar enter to tarry in sackcloth, ministers of my God, because it refrained from the house of your God the offering and the libation." Which reads Hagar wa sapad wa ha kahanyam hayal yalwa mashtarathia mazabach ba'awa layanwa bashakim mashtarathia alahaya rasalaki alaya kaya namanai mabayath alahayakam manacha wanasak. Right? And see if we can pull that up. Okay, so that word is how. Okay. Verse 14, sanctify fast, proclaim a solemn assembly, which Tazarah means a solemn assembly. Gather the elders, all inhabitants of the land, to the house of God, to the house of the Lord your God, and cry unto the Lord. Reads Kwadashwa, Tazawam, Kwara'awa, Atazarah, Asapwa, Zaquanium, Kol Yeshabiyah Ha'aratazah, Bayath Yahweh, Allahayakam, Waz Akwa Al Yahweh. Verse 15, alas unto the day, because it is near. It is the day of the Lord, and like the and like violence from the Almighty it shall come. Right? Because that word shad is just you can it's another way to say violence, right? The actual word for violence is Hamas, right? Shad just means to despoil, right? And like I said, this is not talking of, you can use this verse to apply to future prophecy, but this is talking about, right? The day of the Lord is not always, right, one particular day, right? This particular, here it's talking about the southern kingdom being invaded by the Babylonians, right, which are the Chaldeans or whatnot, right? Then you have the day, which is right when the Lord's gonna bring desolation to the earth, right? Via the charagma, the right martial law, FEMA camps, right? Revelation 13:16, the Lord scorching the earth, right? World War III, Russia, China, Iran, right? The BRICS AI nations, which will uh, make war with America, Babylon the Great, right? Which is the great city mentioned in the book of Revelation. So that word for aha, let's take a look at it. Strong's H162, translated as alas, oh, or ah. Basically, alas. The root word is hawa, meaning a fall, right? Basically, right? It's another way to say I gotcha, right? Or when you say oh boy, you know, or it's just an exclamation. When you say oh shit, you know, like it said back there, interjection, right? Let's look at that. Let's look up that word, interjection. Interjection. Definition is an abrupt remark made especially as in aside or interruption. Sudden utterance, a cry, exclamation, right? So that word aha, it just means an interjection. Could be any kind of interjection, right? If you were to translate that word. But essentially it just means alas, right? Now verse 15 through 20, you can kind of say it's speaking on prophetic word, right? Because there is a day of the Lord coming. There is going to be, like it says, verse 16, meat being cut off, famine, the famine of the word, right? Servants of the Lord, that great accusation coming, right? Uh, like Elder Yashwamba always says, we would be numbered amongst the transgressors. Isaiah 53, just talking about Yahweh Shai, but it's also talking about his servants as well, right? We're going to be linked to Antifa groups, white supremacist groups, uh, Islamic extremism, right? Which we have nothing to do with, right? All we're doing is preaching the word, right? The words of Yahweh Bashem El Shai, right? The volume of the book, right? So I take back what I said. This is actually it applies to prophecy because there's some things you got to remember, right? Particular visions and utterances that the in the book of the prophets that they have spoke, but they didn't understand what they were saying, right? But now, like scriptures say, uh, these things are being understood since the foundation of the world, right? That is part of the books being opened, right? That's in the book of Revelation. That's in the book of Second Esdras, right? That means the understanding going out. Joel chapter 1 and 16. And recently I was reading the book of Job, right? It speaks about the same thing. Right? Let's get that real quick, actually. What is it? Got to hear my camp notes. Salakia, which is shit. Sepharia. No, it wasn't on Amos. Looking for Joel. Joel. Okay, there we go. So that's Job chapter 20. Let's get that real quick. Joel, Job chapter 20. That's Job chapter 20. Job chapter 20. Job 20 and 11. His bones are full of the sin of his youth, which shall lie down with him in the dust. Though wickedness be sweet in his mouth, though he hide it under his tongue, though he spare it, and forsake it not, but still keep it within his mouth, yet his meat in his bowels is turned, it is the gall of asps within him. He has swallowed down riches, he shall vomit them up again. God shall cast them out of his belly. He shall suck the poison of asps, the viper's tongue shall slay him. He shall not see the rivers, the floods, the brooks of honey and butter. That which he hath labored for he shall restore, and shall not swallow it down. According to his substance shall the restitution be. He shall not rejoice therein. And so on and so forth, right? Verse 21, right? There shall none of his meat be left, therefore no man shall look for his goods, right? Just talking about, right, the famine coming to America, Babylon, great desolation, right? Like it says in the book of Revelation, the merchants will look afar off. They're going to say, alas, that great city is thrown down, right? Which is going to come of ballistic missiles, right? Thermonuclear desolation. Verse 27, the heavens shall reveal his iniquity, and the earth shall rise up against him, right? Again, you can accept that with the books being open, right? So all these things add up, right? These things are written and now being understood, right? Joel 1 and 16. which says, is it not from before the food cut off from the house of our God? The rejoicing and gladness, which reads, that word for meat is a call, which means to eat. Which we read, hal hala nagad ayanya nawa akal na karath mabayath alahayanawa shamacha wa gayal. Gayal means to be joyful, right, or glad, right, in a general sense. Verse 17 says they're shriveled the orchards from under the clods, their clods. They are desolate, the treasuries. They are pulled down, the barn houses, because uh, the grain is dried up, which reads Abashwa, Paradath, Lachath, Magarapti Tayaham, Nashamwa, Atazarath, Naharaswa, Magarath, Kaya, Habayash, Dagan. The word Ibash means to shrivel up. Parad means an orchard, right? Let's look up orchard real quick. Orchard definition. Which reads a piece of land planted with fruit trees. Garap, that just means clods. This is what clods is. It's just referencing broken ground, right? Let's go into the blue letter. So that's Garapa, which is a feminine form of Magarap, shovel, clod. I believe the root means to sweep away. Let's click on that real quick. Garap, which is Strong's H1640, to sweep away, right? snatch away, sweep away. Right, so gar, right, means to turn back, rap or rapa'a, which that's another word, which means um, to make void, right? It also means to heal, right? It just means to sweep away, right? Because that's what happens when you break ground, right? The wind blows the residue. That word ibash, I believe there's another word to it. Let's see. I recall reading it in the book of Proverbs. Let's see if I can get that real quick. Proverbs 30, 29. Nope, that's not what I was looking for. I think that word is like kabash, but I'll have to look it up later. I don't want to take away from the lesson. Joel chapter 1 and verse 18, which reads, how do they groan the beast? They weep the droves of the herds, because there is none pasture unto them. Even the droves of the flock are, says here, are days. That word is asham, which means trespass. That's asham. Which I believe it also means to invade. Let me look that up in my notes. Asham. Actually, that word is pashai, right? So let's look at the Strong's H816, which is a shum, which says shum, to trespass, Basically, it's another way to say, right, they are done for, right, or desolate. The word anak, sometimes you'll read it as anak, just means to moan, to groan, to bemoan, right? Which reads ma na anacha bahama nabakwa idoria bakwar kaya ayan maraya laham gum idoria ha tazaan na ashamwa. Which you see today, right? You see particular farmers and cattle that they have to basically put to death. All right, they got because of particular pestilence, right? So this is part of the plagues that the Lord is bringing, right? The granaries, like it says here, the seeds being no good, the barns being ruined, right? You got GMOs, you got when the Lord brings the destruction, right? He's gonna destroy these particular uh, treasuries and granaries, right? But Esau's doing it uh, as well, right? Because it's a controlled demolition, right, of America, Babylon Great, right? Esau Edom, right, which is the so-called white man today. So it basically says, and the flocks of the sheep or days were astonished, right? Why? Because creation even groaneth to this very day, like scripture say, right? And no flesh will be saved unless the Lord intervenes, right? This is why Esau Edom is called a bad one, right? Meaning destroyer, right? The bad of sin, right? The word abad means to perish, to destroy, right? Book of Habakkuk says that he is as death, which is why all these things are happening, which is why he's pushing GMOs, parallel farming, 3D printed meat, because he wants you to suffer right before he loses his kingdom and his rulership as a whole. When Yahweh Shai returns with chariots to deliver the remnant, right? These things have to happen, right? The creation groaning, right? You can't forget about artificial mosquitoes, all right, which Kill Gates has created. But anyways, verse 19 says, "Unto thee, O Lord, do I call, because a fire has consumed the abodes of the wilderness, and a flame has been has in, and a flame has inflamed all of the trees of the field," which reads, "Al Yaka Yahweh A Kwara'a Kaya Ash Akala Na Awath Ma Dabar Wa Lahaba Lachata Kal Itaziyah Hashada." Because the book of Job, the scriptures say that America, Babylon Great is as the valley of the shadow of death, where darkness is as light. Lord is going to consume this place with fire. The word lahab means a flame. Lahat means to inflame, right? Or to, not necessarily to ignite, because there's another word for that. But you could say in this context, that's what it's saying. But that actually means to inflame. And here it says all the trees of the countryside, just as the field, basically. Because what does it say in the book of Ezekiel, right? The land of on-wall villages. The line of confusion is these various highways that go in various directions. That is the line of confusion. The on-walled villages are these states that are just divided by a line. It's just a state line. There's an actually uh, fences or walls around these particular states. Verse 20 says, even the beasts of the field will cry out unto thee because they are dried up the watercourses of the sea, and a fire has consumed the abodes of the wilderness. Now, keep in mind, this is talking about um, back then and now, right? Because this is what happens during the siege, right? The water, the food is polluted, everything is polluted. All these things are used as weapons, which is what Esau Edom is doing, right? So it says, Gam Bahamath, Shada Ta'irag Al Yaka Kaya Yabashwa Apayakya Mayam Wa'ash Akala Na'awath Ha Makbar. The word, let's look at these words actually. The word Irag is strong 6165, H16565, which says to long, to pant for, to cry, to ascend in the Arabic. The Hebrew word says to ascend. Basically means to ascend or to cry out in a figurative sense. This word is very peculiar. I guess it's in a way to say to elevate. Yeah, I would say that. We have Apiak. channel, ravine, stream. Let's look at the root. Pak. To hold, to be strong. Right, as in something that's held together, right? In this case, speaking about a channel, right? Sometimes you can speak of or describe maybe like a tube, a channel tube, right? Stream. Like in Job 41:15, it says, "His scales are his pride shut up together as with a closed seal," which is really his body parts, right? So that's pretty much it. This is Joel chapter 1, going to the Hebrew. It's Brother Yatazadak here of Israel. As always, Lord willing, you were edified, giving all honor and glory to Yahweh, by Hashem Yahushai, by Hashem Kakwadash, double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone. Kwame Sha'ala, Abba Babal, Shalom.